Yo, what's going on, high performers? Welcome to the Fitness Outsource Podcast. This is episode 10, and I'm sitting here with Brandon and I again. And today we're talking about sleep and sleep hygiene. And we're just going to go into like stories about what we found with sleep, because I used to be the shittiest sleeper ever, and I used to think that I could function off 4 hours of sleep. And I think Brandon was the same way. You
Exactly the same. I was a sleep when I'm dead kind of guy.
Sleep when I'm dead, yeah. And then you're just dead when you're not
Dead
sleeping.
when I'm awake.
Yeah, dead when I'm awake, yeah.
Kind of guy.
So that's what we're talking about today. Welcome to the podcast. Roll the intro. A little story about me and sleep. I used to sleep for 4 hours per day, and I used to tell people that I'm like completely functional off 4 hours per day. And I even had a client that told me to like read that book, Why We Sleep or whatever.
By Matthew
I was
Walker.
like, I don't need that book, dude. I sleep like 4 hours per day and I feel great. Feel great all the time. I work out all the time. And he's like, no, man, you're not. And like, you should really read this book. And he gave me the book and I never read it. It felt so stupid. I could have saved like years of my life if I actually read that book.
The only thing is I've read that book, but every time I read that book, I fall asleep.
So you actually finished reading the book?
It's hard. It takes many tries because I fall asleep every time I read about sleep. But it's a great read if anyone hasn't read it.
So what's his name? Matthew Walker?
Matthew Walker.
Yeah, Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep, if you want to read it. But I think inside the book, he mentions that he wants you falling asleep reading the book.
It's like in like the introduction, he's like, usually authors would be very offended if you fell asleep to their material. And this is how I imagine he talks.
that's how he talks.
He's like
right?
lulling you to sleep in the introduction. But I would be very honored if you fell asleep in my book.
Dude, I could totally I want to meet this guy. I don't know. I think I've seen
heard of him on
podcasts.
podcasts,
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
like a normal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he look tired? I can't remember.
No, he looks pretty rested.
He looks pretty rested?
All
right, then I trust him.
Yeah.
That's my litmus test on people. It's like all health people. It's like, do you actually look healthy?
That's true.
Because if you don't look healthy, then I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I mean, we were just talking about this, like people who like preach certain diets, but they don't like fully follow the diet.
Yeah.
Because you know, the thing is with me and Brandon, all the shit that we teach our clients, we do. Everything. Yeah. Everything that we're telling you to do right now, we do it.
And people think we're crazy for it. And we kind of are.
Yeah.
But back to sleep. Like Josko, I used to be one of these guys who thought I could get by on like six hours was like the magic number for me. Especially going through university, I was like, 6 hours, I can do anything. I found that like as I was studying for exams, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna like pull an all-nighter to do this, and I became so ineffective for that next day's exam by pulling that all-nighter. But what I actually found was when I actually started to get really good sleep and focus on the quality of my sleep, like my grades improved, my work improved. I even related it back to jiu-jitsu. Like there would be many times where I'd be training, I'd be drilling a certain technique, and I just couldn't get it. But the moment I went and I slept on it, the next day I came back and it felt much more automatic. And I think there's a huge component to sleeping and learning and performing the next day.
Yeah, I mean, it is recovery. It's where you recover. And I feel like my body feels the best and the most injury free when I'm sleeping. But like that, like you said, like it's for me, it's mostly the mind related stuff. Like I'm sharper, I'm less agitated. Like there's so many things. Like I'm a better person when I'm sleeping well, to everyone around me and to myself, and like less depressed, less anxious. Like it's insane how much sleep helps you. Like if you're not sleeping like 7-8 hours per day, like a minimum of 7 hours per day, you are leaving
so much on the table.
Yeah, you're losing your potential.
Right. And just bring it back to recovery. I mean, I've always been someone who've worked out in the gym and taking relatively good care of my nutrition. Not as good as I do now, but once I've nailed my nutrition and my sleep, I've gone from a person who's always had a really hard time keeping weight on to someone who can really start to build muscle mass. And I think it is because of that recovery. So one thing that a lot of people know, if you've been to Kraken training, you know that we're all kind of sleep nerds. We all have these Aura rings. And for those who don't know, Aura is probably the best commercial sleep tracker out there. So it's a ring that goes on your finger, and it tracks all your sleep metrics. Like it'll tell you how long you're in bed, how long you're asleep for, how long you were in certain sleep cycles. So everyone at Kraken Fitness, including our clients, have become pretty big sleep nerds. Like we always come by, we like compare all of our scores.
Yeah, like when we come into the gym, it's like, what's your score? What was your score?
Yeah.
Oh, I got
87.
67. Yeah,
Yeah, I
suck.
got an all-time high.
Yeah.
92. Went to bed at 7 p.m.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they'll say like something like, oh, how do you know your score's not just telling you making you feel that way? Like, let's say if you got like a 67, like super low score, and you're like maybe just you reading that score. But the thing is though, even when I wake up and I forget, like, because usually I'll wake up and forget to read my score when I have a shitty sleep, and then I'll read it later and be like, oh yeah, it's 67, confirmed.
Yeah, I think that's one really good tip that you can give people with any kind of sleep tracker. It doesn't have to be Aura. Like some people, Fitbit tracks their sleep as well. Is to, when you first get one of these sleep trackers, is to take a subjective note earlier in the day, or maybe like diary log yourself early in the day. Like, how did I feel like I slept the last night?
Rate yourself. Give yourself a score.
Yeah, exactly. Give yourself a score, and then like you did, like check your score towards the end of the day. Because there's some days where I would be lying to you if I woke up and I'm like, I feel pretty good, and I looked at my score and I was like 67. Oh no! And then everything starts going downhill. I start giving myself an excuse towards the afternoon of why I'm feeling tired.
Yeah, I think some of those days are wake up calls, but those are also some days, like, I don't take it too seriously when those happen, when you get like a super low score but you're feeling good. But also I look at those like, oh, thank God, like I've gotten sleep, like really good sleep in the past, because like if I got a 67 and I had a shitty sleep for the entire week, then I'd feel even worse today. Yeah. But I don't, and it's because like I've felt good the entire week, and like 167 is nothing.
Right.
And then the next day you get back on the horse and you're fine again.
So that being said, like, what are the things that you like to do to ensure that you have a good sleep?
Well, okay, number one for me, like I find my nightly routine is literally the most important thing. And my nightly routine starts 1 hour before I go to bed, which means that like my phone is off. No more blue screens. No screens at all, like zero screens. We don't have a TV in our bedroom or anything, nothing crazy like that. And we just lay in the bed and we just either talk or we read. Like me and my wife, we just talk or read, or just hang out with the kids until they go to bed. That's it, like nothing. And also make sure the lights are really dim. But what I'm trying to do is just calm my nervous system down.
Yeah.
I don't want to be thinking about anything. I don't want to do anything. I want my eyes to relax. And then when it's time to go to bed, my eyes close, and then like I feel my eyes are getting tired, and then I close my eyes and I just pass the fuck out immediately.
Right. Let's bring it back to light exposure, because I think people really underplay the brightness of screens and how we're always surrounded by screens and how it can really ruin your sleep. And so I notice a very significant difference between the days that I'm like on my phone or my computer screen, like right up until the point till I go to bed. And I would say that's like 90% of people nowadays. Like you're in bed, that's the last thing you do before you go to bed is you're on your phone, and it's the first thing you do when you wake up.
Yep.
And like that blue light exposure just delays the onset and release of melatonin.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, melatonin release. And also, yeah, just keeps your cortisol up. There's no chance to bring... It's because here's the thing. If you guys listen to the podcast with Drew, he says that basically as your cortisol goes down, your melatonin increases. And if your melatonin isn't increasing, then your cortisol isn't coming down. And if your cortisol isn't coming down, then your melatonin isn't increasing. And so that's what you're doing. That's why you don't get good REM sleep. But I'll give you a cheat code. Because I found that if I take lion's mane, Drew Jameson, he recommended to take lion's mane before bed, or I think in general for stress. I started taking it before bed, and I found that like I can maintain high REM scores regardless of what I do. That's cheat codes. I don't know if it's actually true or if it's my ring just fucking up, but that's essentially what happened to me. Started taking lion's mane, and my REM sleep's fine. Like no matter what I do.
One of the biggest things that affected my sleep was my caffeine intake.
Oh yeah.
So
dude, 100%.
Through university, it's like a time where you start to drink a ton of caffeine, and this happens while you're at work, and you just get in a habit of drinking caffeine. And how many people do you know, they say, oh, I can have a coffee 1 hour before I go to bed and I could still fall asleep.
Yeah.
I would love to see those people's Oura Ring scores.
Yeah.
Because for sure, like I can take a nap too, like on the couch after I've taken caffeine or I've drank a cup of coffee. But when you really peel back the layers, like you're not getting that good quality sleep. And what I realized from tracking my sleep is this goes beyond just past a hour window time frame. So what I started to do is I enacted a caffeine cutoff time, because I know that caffeine has a half-life hour of 6 hours. So I stopped drinking any kind of caffeine after 12 p.m. And when I did that, my sleep quality immensely got better.
Okay, so I just want to like talk about something with caffeine. Okay, so a lot of people like, okay, when you think about what caffeine is, you're taking a bean from like some kind of fruit or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're roasting it. And then you're like grinding it up. And then you're pouring hot water over it. And then this concoction that you just created is causing your cortisol to spike. Like your body's reacting to this poison basically, which is causing your cortisol to spike. And it's causing your like an increase of caffeine inside your body, which blocks the adenosine receptors.
Yeah.
And amongst many other things like that affect your digestion and things. And so, yeah, caffeine like fucks you up basically. And then you're telling me that like you could just take this and then go to bed. Like, come on. Even if it didn't affect your, like, you don't want to take anything like that before you go to bed. Nothing even close to that. Like you don't even want to eat before going to bed, and you're taking caffeine before you go to bed.
It's a drug.
Nuts.
It's a drug, but it's a widely accepted drug that people just love.
Yeah,
and they will fight tooth and nail to be like hold on to their coffee, because it's widely accepted that everyone loves coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who don't, it's an upper drug. Like it hypes you up.
Yeah.
So why would you want to do that before you sleep or anytime near when you want to go to sleep?
Yeah. It's nuts. And you know what's crazy in the fitness industry? Like caffeine is huge.
Yeah, pre-workouts.
Energy drinks, pre-workouts, like
everything.
And people take this shit at like 4 p.m. and they're going to bed at like 10. Workout. That's insane. And these like some of these energy drinks and shit have like 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is basically like a venti.
Yeah, which is another point is if they're using that before they work out at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, they're working out too. So one thing that okay, so Josko and I both do jiu-jitsu, and unfortunately our jiu-jitsu classes are fairly late some days. So like Monday, Wednesday, the classes are at like 8 p.m. So we're like fighting other people until 9 p.m. when we should be in bed by 9:30.
Yeah.
How do you think that sleep is that night?
Dude, that's why I stopped doing that. Because I just had to be honest with myself. Like how many days per week can you go and get like a 50 score on your freaking Oura ring and you feel like shit the next day just because you're like fighting people at night?
Right.
Like it's a great sport. I love it, but I don't know if I want to subject myself to that.
But this is just like exercise in general. So
yeah, exercise in general. Yeah,
exercise in general. If you're like exercising vigorously, right, you're activating your sympathetic nervous system, which is a lot of people know is their fight or flight. They're jacking up that cortisol. They're stressing their body out. I mean, it's a good stress, right? But still, you're stressing yourself out right before you're supposed to be calm and go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's so weird because me and you, we work so hard to like calm down before bed, bring down the stress, take it easy. Cause like we're super high energy guys. Like we have jujitsu, we have working out, we have business, we have like training clients all day. We have to be high energy all day. And like we work so hard to bring it down. And then you have people who are doing the exact opposite. It's nuts.
Yeah.
But so basically you have your nightly routine. That's the most important, bringing down that cortisol, lowering that caffeine intake, and making sure that you don't exercise before, like, obviously you're trying to bring your nerves down. You're not trying to like increase your cortisol.
Yeah.
And then from there, I found personally that waking up at the same time every day is more important than going to bed at the same time. So like if I were to, let's say as an example, I usually go to bed at 9 p.m. and I wake up at 5 a.m. That's 8 hours of sleep. If I go to bed a little bit later at 10, if I wake up at 5, I still feel okay. But if I go to bed at 10 and I wake up at 6, my whole day feels a little bit off. Even though I got 8 hours of sleep, my day feels a little bit off. And the more you like move those needles and you still get 8 hours of sleep, let's say you go to bed at 12 and you wake up at 8 when you're used to waking up at 5, now you've really fucked up your day. You almost feel like your day is lost. You feel like all confused in your head and shit. And it's because you're just a dumb animal. Like you messed up your circadian rhythm.
Yeah, and how often do you see people do this on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
Like Monday to Friday, easy to keep that schedule, right? Because you have worked in the day. Most people work 9 to 5 jobs, so they're going to wake up relatively close to their shift, enough time for them to get to work, etc. Go to sleep in time so they can wake up for work the next day. But when they get to the weekend, they're like, woohoo, like everything's gone now. I don't have to wake up early in the morning the next day. I can sleep in. So they stay up later and they sleep in till 10, 11, 12, even later than that sometimes. And so, like you said, even if they got the same amount of sleep, that quality of sleep is not as good because those timeframes and circadian rhythm has been shifted so much, or they're shifted outside of their normal circadian rhythm.
What I just said earlier was like the dumb animal thing. I think that is a really easy way to think about your body, and like calling yourself like a dumb ape, like so effective. Because if you look at yourself like a dumb ape, what ends up happening is like you go Monday to Friday waking up at the exact same time, and then your body goes like, oh, okay, this is the time that we wake up. And then you go Saturday, Sunday, and then potentially Monday waking up later, and then your dumb ape brain goes like, oh, this is the time that we wake up now.
Yeah.
And then it starts slowly adjusting to that time, and then it's like, oh no, we're changing times again, and I guess we're waking up at this time now. And then
it's like daylight savings times every week, every 5 days.
Yeah. People complain about daylight savings time all the time, and then
they do it to themselves every 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. When you say it out loud, it's so dumb.
Yeah. But we all do it. We've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there. I know there's a lot of this. I'm gonna speak to a lot of people out here. Hot sleepers. This is one thing that is plagued sleeping, right? Because everyone's looking for the cool side of the pillow. Everyone's warm. They get waken up in the middle of the sleep because they're really hot. But one of the best ways to get good quality sleep is to decrease your core body temperature. So, and how do you do that? What are your strategies for?
Okay, so number one, I'm in a cold room. That's number one. But I tend to like be sweaty overnight sometimes, not usually, but I tend to sweat. But I fixed that issue by doing two things. One, I got a bed jet, which basically just like blows air into your sheets.
It's like an air conditioner
thing ever
for your comforter.
Yeah, the best way that you ever describe it, it's like, oh, it's like fresh sheets every day.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It feels like fresh sheets every day, and you don't sweat because there's just air going constantly at you. And then the second thing was the purple pillow, because the purple pillow, it's cool all the time. And if you guys look this up, it's like a pillow that has holes all over it.
Yeah, it's like a weave of foam.
Yeah,
of magical purpleness. I don't know how it works, but it's amazing.
So they have both pillows, but they also have mattresses as well. So if you guys want to go nuts, you can do the purple mattress.
Pillow, if you want to sponsor the podcast,
yeah, I'm willing to talk about you every day.
Yeah,
no, because the thing is though, those two things really did change my life. Like the bed jet, we use it every day. And then also the purple pillow, we use that every day. We both my wife and I have a purple pillow.
Yeah, just thinking like everyone's complaining because we live in Vancouver and we have like 2 months out of the year where it actually does get hot, and you could tell like people are kind of like way more cranky the next day. Or everyone's talking about like, hey, did you get that AC unit at Costco? Oh no, they were all sold out. Because everyone's sleep is disturbed through those 2 months. We're not used to that kind of heat. But if you have some kind of mechanism to regulate the temperature in your room, trust me, your deep sleep cycles will thank me.
So do you have an AC inside your bedroom?
I don't have an AC inside the bedroom, but we have like a unit within like the room next over.
Okay, yeah. So we have AC inside the bedroom as well. And we'll use it, like we already started using it.
Yeah.
But we'll also use it like well before the summer starts, and then also well into the fall as well. Just because we want to keep that room super cool. And we don't leave it on the entire night. We just leave it on maybe like in the fall, we'll leave it on for like an hour or something just to kind of get the room ready. And then we'll
just to help you kind of fall asleep.
Yeah. Is there any other like tricks that you have?
One thing that I find is make sure you're not drinking too much liquid before you go to bed. Oh, yeah. Because everyone does this. They get up and they go pee, and that's going to break up that sleep cycle. So I would say at least an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of your bedtime. You don't need to guzzle a whole lot of water.
Yeah. So you do 1 hour?
1 to 1.5 hours.
Okay. So for me, like I find that I have to do like 3-4 hours.
Really?
Yeah, so I'll have water with my dinner, which is usually 3 to 4 hours before bed, and then I cut it off after that, and I'll just drink water throughout the day. I don't need it. Yeah, I think people drink way too late.
Right.
And then that's the thing too. Okay, there's one huge thing that we have talked about.
Yeah.
We should have talked about this at the beginning.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Oh yeah.
Dude. I think alcohol probably ruins people's sleep the most, and they don't realize like that one glass of wine, one beer every day, like that is fucking up your sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you a story about how I realized that alcohol was fucking up my sleep. So, again, I'm going to bring it back to Oura Ring because Oura Ring is basically the only way I could tell because I actually have data. And so the nice thing about the Oura Ring, it breaks up your sleep cycles. It tells you when you're laying in bed, how long you were in bed awake, how long you were in a light sleep cycle, deep sleep cycle, REM, etc. Right? So every Wednesday, me and my friends, we would go to the pub and we would have, 1 or 2 beers. And I was like, I'm used to it. I drink all the time. I'll have like 1 or 2 beers. It's just 2, right? And so it was the first week I got my Oura Ring. I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm going to get my data after this. It's going to be a real good night of sleep because I feel really woozy after those 2 beers and I want to go to sleep.
So you thought you were going to get a good sleep?
I thought I was going to, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing when people smoke weed or like when they drink, like they feel sedated.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went to sleep and I woke up in the morning and I was like, man, I got to bed pretty early because I felt pretty woozy after those 2 beers. What is my sleep score going to be? And it was absolutely crashed. And I looked up at my Oura Ring stats and like the first like hour and a half that I thought I was supposedly in bed sleeping, I was actually just knocked unconscious. Like I was sedated. Like I was tranquilized.
Wait, so like it said that you were awake or
it said I was awake?
Yeah.
But I thought I was sleeping and I thought I had a full night's sleep of rest.
So
it was like an hour and a half. It was like bright white, you are awake.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the Oura Ring, like, dude, it knows. You didn't put input that you drank.
No, I didn't.
It just knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to like put a note in after and be like, oh yeah, I drank this day. That's why I got so fucked up. Just 1 or 2 beers. And that's another thing too, is also weed. A lot of people think that weed doesn't affect them that much. Weed affects your sleep a lot too.
It would be crazy to see how long after like my heart rate variability, how long it takes to recover after having a night like that.
Probably like for me, if a heavy drinking would probably be like 1 to 2 weeks.
At least.
Yeah. And then 2 beers, about a week.
Right.
But okay, the thing with the Oura Ring and just all these trackers in general, like the Whoop Band and stuff, like there's communities online of people who track this stuff religiously, and they could see exactly what caused them to fuck up their sleep. And all the things that we talked about today are things that they talk about in the forums. Like the main thing is just like wake up at the same time every day, make sure you're in a cool, like all these exact same things. And these are people who've been tracking these metrics for years. So yeah, this is no bullshit.
I think everyone knows what to do. They just need to do it.
Yeah. That's just a story of life. How do you lose weight? You just eat less and move more. You don't have to pay us to let you know how to do that.
How do you want to get more energy the next day? Sleep more the night before.
Yeah. Who would have thought that you have to sleep to get more energy? Crazy. But anyway, hope you guys liked this episode. It went way over what I thought it was going to go over. I was like wrapping it up at one point and then we just kept going.
And we'll come back.
Yeah. But hope you guys liked this episode. So that's how you sleep properly. And we'll see you in episode 11.
See you guys.